dies. Welcome to Every Day is Draft Day. Presented by Champions Round.
What is up, everyone? That intro was
Our
awesome.
intro and outro are there. We'll have to work on that. I don't know why they were pieced together there, but go ahead, Dan. Sorry, that was so funny.
Welcome to Every Day is Draft Day. I'm Dan Turner. Joining me, as always, with one of her amazing dad hats, Steffi Smalls. What's up, Steph?
I feel like I haven't worn these enough, and I feel like it's time that I have solidified the dads. The draft is over. I need to bring them back out. It felt like a dad hat night. And I feel like, what's nice too is these rookie drafts, I'm starting to get through them. I just finished one today, and the one that I sent in our Discord, which if you haven't joined, go ahead and join. It's actually a blast. It's such a good way to connect. But I had a lot of my dads on that, with those picks. So at least, I practice what I preach.
It does help that your dads are going much later than they should be going. So they're available later rounds.
Well, it's not. It's just a weird. We all keep saying it's a weird class.
It's a weird class.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about today. Is how we did all these like super flex mock drafts, too cute, and then like they were basically for nothing. Like we might as well have just drafted for one QB.
Pretty much, yeah. They amounted to absolutely nothing. But we hope that everyone enjoyed the big board showdown. We had a lot of fun putting that together for everyone, including the Be the Champs, where I think you won yours, right? Or did you come in second? Oh yeah, you came in second.
I came in second, which is so obnoxious, but it's fine.
Who won in yours?
Dom Centurino from Fantasy Points.
Yeah. I forget. One of our regular listeners won mine. I forget his name. I feel bad.
Yes. Hey, Mr. Holmes. That's my guy. He won. Someone else did. A lot of these, and that's the thing. If you did a couple of them, you started picking up on a strategy.
Yep, exactly.
And it's like I would get pissed. I'd join one and I'd be like, God damn it, P-Win Dynasty's in here again. I know what he's gonna do. Or like I knew the break. I always forget how his handle is spelled out, but Sean, he will take Travis Jones from me. And I'm like, that is my cheat code. You're not allowed to take my cheat code.
I know. It was Jeremy Martin. I think he's the one that won mine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it was people that played a bunch. And
at least we weren't like Jason, who lost so badly that he doubled both of us up. Terms of
that's because he was like at the end, he's like, I'm going for Mr. Irrelevant. And it's like, well, you weren't guessing that one.
Nope, you didn't get a Brock Purdy, so you lost.
And I mean, talking about quarterbacks, we'll just go right into it. I think that's right. It's not even getting that much attention on Twitter because, as you see from the title, it's just the Twitter streets are pretty sketch right now. I think that I don't know where you've seen Kenny Pickett go. I'm starting to warm up to the idea of him towards the late end of the first round, but for me, he's that early second round guy. I think he walked into a great position. We kind of talked about this during our mock draft episode is, he has every possible like option that he could want there. And then he also, even having, Najee, you have Freiermuth, you have even people forget they did draft Calvin Austin. You've got Pickens, you have Deontay Johnson, you have Chase Claypool. I mean, I wish the O-line wasn't as sketchy as it is because I think that they've done enough though. I don't know that it's going to be as bad as last year.
No. And I was talking about this because I was on a show with Jorge and Herms yesterday, and we talked about this today. Anyway,
you don't know. You're like, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, exactly. Woo! And we're talking about this. Like he was going in the middle of the second to the early second, and that's crazy to me. Like especially in Superflex, we had a good point. That's the cheapest you're going to get a QB. Why are you waiting until the second round to get him? Get him in the late first. Like he needs to be a late first round back. He's stepping into literally the best offensive situation, minus like skill position wise, in the history of rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah. And the Steelers, they're, you know what? I think they're, if they're not the best how do I word this the right way? Like they are a very well-run organization from top to bottom. They've always been that way. They do a good job being able to develop the guys that they want to develop. They're good at taking wide receivers a little bit later than other people will and finding that talent there that's going to end up being a wide receiver one for them. And they're able to, I think if they were, they let a quarterback fall to them at 20, which is beautiful. They probably expected that to happen. The Malik stuff was obviously a little bit of a smoke screen. And I think they took the guy that they wanted, that they think is going to give them success a little bit quicker. I mean, and again, Mitch Trubisky, and I love it. Like, I love that everyone is so excited for Mitch Trubisky. That kind of died off. I joked around the other day, like things on my timeline went very quickly from all hail Mitch Trubisky. He's coming back. It's going to be Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers to they drafted Kenny Pickett, and now how much of a competition really is it? But I think Kenny Pickett ends up seeing the field more than Trubisky does.
Yeah. And this is what I understand about him going so late. Like, if like any other situation, like he would, like, there's no reason for him to be going that late. Like, he's in a stable organization, like you said. He has the first round draft capital. He's the only quarterback drafted in the first 2 rounds. Like, what more do people want from him in order for him to go higher? And I mean, like, I don't really care. Like, if I'm getting Kenny Pickett in like the second round, then by all means, I will take all of Kenny Pickett in the second round. Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, it's just crazy to me that he is falling that far. Like, I understand that overall the QB class is not good, like perceived to be not good, but for just Pickett himself, he checks off every single box you need to draft him in the first round. And the fact that he's not is mystifying.
It's crazy because I'm seeing, like, even I'm in a draft right now where I don't want to say, I don't think it was Corral. That sounds super dramatic. If it was, I'm sorry, because I'm probably totally putting someone on blast, but I think it was Ritter and Willis that went before Pickett. And it's like, I get it, but I don't know if it's that you're chasing what you heard in the offseason, where I also think that Ritter, like, we heard Tannehill. Like, Tannehill is still Tannehill is not the quarterback that everyone thinks he is. He's a lot better than a lot of slack that he gets. And I don't think Ritter has much competition there. I think that, again, like we talked about this probably earlier in the week, where you have Mariota there. You don't really have to change much of the playbook. Or maybe this was the show I was on, actually on Tuesday. They all start to blend together. But like, you don't have to change much there. You have Ritter who can walk in. You're not making massive changes. You have similar skill sets. I'm not talking talent. I feel like I have to reiterate that, because this is the time of the year where people will clip like 5 seconds of what you said and turn it into an absolute nightmare. But I'm talking about skill set in general. Like, they're very similar. Maybe we end up seeing, like, Mariota has that ability. We saw what he did on the Raiders, where he'll come in for 1 to 2 plays a game. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. And he's also a viable backup too. So I think that he can get them where they need to be. And then Ritter also is able to develop a little bit more on those areas that he is a little bit rough around the edges. And he's a lot younger than people think. He does look older, though, I will note.
Yeah. No, and you're absolutely right. I think that, Ritter is in a really good situation too, where he doesn't have to start immediately. He can sit behind Mariota, and they can build the offense kind of around both of them, and don't have to change much schematically for either. So that's a really good situation as well. And as for Matt Corral, I mean, like his weapons are amazing too. And Sam Darnold is not going to stop him from starting. He just isn't. Like, everyone saw what Sam Darnold was last year, and he sucked. So, and he has DJ Moore and McCaffrey and Anderson and those guys. So
I think I think he's my least favorite landing spot. What about you?
Corral?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just down on the team and the organization as a whole. I don't know. I feel like they're up to no good. They're always, and it's not even like up to no good in a way where like they're going to pull something cool off. Like, they're up to no good in a way where it's not going to be cool. Like, I don't know. I feel like there was other teams that maybe, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I think Corral has a great skill set too, but maybe it's the Panthers that just put a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, because I think everything's there. I just don't know exactly what they're going to do. I don't like the Ben McAdoo thing. I think Rule just has to go. I think that's what it comes down to over there.
I think when I'm talking about that spot, I don't really expect Rule to be there long term.
Yeah.
I think, and the only really way he saves his job is starting Corral. So, I mean, he's not going to save it with Sam Darnold. He just isn't. Yeah. So that really benefits Matt by being able to start earlier than some other QBs would, like Ritter or Willis or even, you know, Pickett if they go with Trubisky for some stupid reason.
Right.
So, I mean, in that respect, that's why I really like the spot for him, is because no matter what, he's going to play. So you can't score points if you don't play. So
it's crazy because after all that drama, I think all these guys could see the field next year. Like, it's not going. It may not be this thing where I guess Malik maybe has the least chance of getting on the field. But again, like, if anything were to happen, he obviously would probably see some playing time. We could see something, you know, like the 49ers did do over there, where you might see him come in for a couple plays and come out. But I think that I do like Malik's opportunity there. I also like, you know, they bring on, and I'll transition this way into Burks, because I think that, you know, and you're an Eagles fan, so this is like wrapping it all around together, is I think that AJ Brown trade was not as like big of a deal long term for the Tennessee Titans, who are kind of in limbo in this like slightly above average scenario where they're obviously not fully invested in Tannehill. We're seeing the way that quarterbacks are getting paid if you're committing to them as your franchise guy. I don't think they're going to be ready to make that step. And then you've taken Malik, and you didn't take him in the first round. He's not necessarily, you know, he wasn't worth that to you. You think that you can develop him and you have a good vet there. But I don't know. I don't think the AJ Brown, I think for the Eagles, like, beautiful. Because one, you guys suck at drafting wide receivers in the first round. I think if you can pull out a trade like that, you know what? Cheers to freaking Howie Roseman, because that's awesome. I mean, there is not. I think the Eagles, and, you know, and I'll let you talk before I ramble for too long, but I think the Eagles not being favored by Vegas to win this division is absolutely ludicrous to me.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with, you know, a lot of questions still remain about Hurts, even within the Eagles fan base. You make a great point about Willis, and this is something I want to touch on real quick before I go into the Eagles. Willis's spot is good too, because, you know, he's the guy that doesn't have to start this year. Right, Tannehill is there, and I think a lot of the things that I'm seeing on Twitter is everyone is like shitting all over these spots, but like, it's dynasty. It's not a 1-year thing. Like, just be patient. A lot of these guys are going to be there, and even the receivers too. Like Burks. Like, Burks is probably going to like break out, not in his first year, but probably in his second year. And like, so yeah, these guys are not maybe in like the best spots right now, but, you know, if Willis gets, you know, coach, like, everyone knew that Willis was the rawest in terms of, you know, how much time he needed to acclimate himself to the pro game. So now he's being given that time. And so if you're patient, you know, he can come out the other side and be a viable, you know, fantasy quarterback. It probably won't happen this year, and that's okay. So I think people just need to be a little bit patient with a lot of these, you know, these rookies that, you know, especially like, and even the running backs too, which we'll touch on later. But I'll say that for the later point. So for the Eagles, yeah, I think that they should be. I don't know if they should be favored, because Dallas is still a good team. I just think they should be getting more respect than they are. I think they have the best O-line in the division. I think Smith and Brown is probably the best pair of Eagles receivers ever, at least in my lifetime. You know, the fact that Hurts, you know, basically lobbied to get AJ Brown there, and like their best friends is awesome. You know, you still have Miles Sanders and Gainwell, and then you have Dallas Goedert. So, and we made like a ton of additions to the front seven on defense, you know, with Davis and Dean and White and Reddick. So I think, you know, it was I think it was the most drastic like change in one offseason I've seen from the Eagles in a long time.
But, and I think it's a different type of change too, because I think that they've tried to make these like drastic changes where like things don't necessarily piece together properly. But I think a lot of that also comes from that dysfunction of like having Carson Wentz there, having Nick Foles, having Jalen Hurts, like those years that everything got a little weird there. Like it's, I think it weird. And then also you guys had a lot of, you know, vets that were on your team for a while starting to get older and being in that transition stage where you're going to have to start bringing other guys on. What do you think with Philadelphia? What will be the thing that could hold them back though? Because there has to be a weakness there that they have.
Well, I think there's two things, one on each side of the ball. I think on offense is if Hurts isn't as developed as he should be, by this point. If he's still the same guy that played against Tampa in the playoffs last year, I don't think we go very far. If he took that next step and is a better quarterback, then I think, the sky's the limit for the offense. On defense, it's definitely the secondary. Darius Slay is the only guy that's, a legit like NFL caliber player. We have a rookie right now starting, a second-year guy in Zach McPherson starting at CB2, and then some guys I've never heard of, Marcus Epps and Adams starting at safety. So, it's a passing league, as we all know. So that is something that's very concerning. As high as I am on the front seven and additions we made, it's that, much as a 180 of how much worry I have for the back end, which we really didn't do any moves. Except bringing a couple of undrafted free agents to solve that problem.
Yeah, I think that the NFC East, I just want us to all pull together a little bit here. Can we just be good again, guys? Please, for the love of God. In talking about pulling it together is Washington. I just don't understand. I don't understand. This past season, they should have done better than they did. Period. They should have done better. I get that there was obviously injuries that played a part in that. But the year before, why are you not going and getting your quarterback? Fine. You decide not to. You guys show a lot of promise. Literally look fantastic. Look like a team that's going to come into the next season and kick ass. And then you show up and that's what is happening? And then you go into, and then you're like, let's bring on Carson Wentz. And I think something we haven't talked about is they did draft a running back, which is interesting because McKissick is staying there. Everyone does love themselves some Gibson. And then they also brought on another wide receiver. I'm not understanding necessarily the game plan here. I think that we definitely see them running the ball maybe even more than we have because of the fact that Wentz, when in doubt, run it out. I feel like that's what they're going to have to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I really, and I wrote a win total article that just came out today, and I actually had Washington under the win total. It's just confusing to me. The draft picks, Brian Robinson is not he's not starting. What are you spending picks on?
But then they're saying the intention is to have him in rotation starting, which doesn't shock me because you have McKissick doing the same type of stuff, and that's why people get frustrated with Antonio Gibson. But it's McKissick is the type of running back that they want, and Gibson doesn't totally fill those shoes there.
Mm-hmm. And it's just what are you doing? They did take Sam Howell, but Sam Howell, obviously the NFL didn't really, think much of Sam Howell for how late he went.
Oh my God. If Wentz gets benched for Sam Howell, oh my gosh, he will have the saddest story in NFL history. We should write books about it, horror stories, sad stories, stories that make you cry. Get John Legend out here to write a sad song about Carson Wentz's history in the NFL. God forbid Sam Howell ends up beating him out, which again, I'm sorry, but it's what if Sam Howell gets on the field too? We could see all these guys after everyone trash talking them. They could end up being starting guys towards the end of the season. I don't think and people forget Diami Brown. Who was Sam Howell's guy? Diami Brown. So I don't know if that was part of the reason why I don't know the game plan here. And I think it might have been us. It might have been, I went on to a show that is a, primarily Washington show. It talks a little bit fantasy too, but it's you're going to have to start to realize that the Eagles have, put themselves in a position where they're really competitive now. You guys again have one of the top 5 easiest schedules coming up. You had one last year too. Now you have a much stronger team. You have Jalen Hurts going into another year. You have this coaching staff coming into another year. And then you have the Giants who, again, and I am the first to knock them. They are making an argument to at least stay in games. And they have one of the easier schedules as well. And then you have Dallas, who, again, we know Dallas's story. They do the same thing every single year, and they get to, find their way into the playoffs, and then they lose. And then it's the same, it's the same story over and over again. And we know as NFC East fans, no one has won back-to-back,
Nope.
since 2003, 2004 with the Eagles. So
Right.
you can knock the Cowboys off unless, of course, at some point it's going to get broken. But
Right.
from what we've seen, it doesn't fly that way because no one's gotten the groove, and the Eagles got into the groove when that happened.
Yeah. I want to stay on your Giants a little more. Everyone starting with the first round. I mean, they hit like 2 home runs, like 2 A+ picks with Neal and Thibodeau. So with that happening, and then with Wendell Robinson and reportedly you guys might let go of James Bradbury. How do you feel about your team going into next year?
I feel good. Like, I am definitely optimistic. I think that something, it's funny because I kind of get deja vu from last year a little bit, where oh, it can't get much worse. We improved, but we didn't really improve in the areas that we needed to, or at all in any kind of meaningful fashion, I feel like. And I know, taking Thibodeau and Evan Neal, we talked about this, I don't know how many times we could have possibly talked about this pre-draft, is 5 and 7 were probably the 2 draft positions you could not mess up. Right. You're not in that 4 spot where it could swing a couple ways. You have the Carolina Panthers, who basically are going to take a quarterback or an O-lineman, and it's going to leave you, seeing the way we think things are going to go, you're going to be left with at least one of the top linemen. So they were coming out with a lineman. Them taking Thibodeau, I don't think people realize how long it's been since the Giants have had a true edge, like a dominant, scary edge. I'm very excited to have having a stud again. It's been a really long time.
What Justin Tuck?
Yeah, right. And as far as edge goes, the one that I would get the most excited about, you have Azeez Ojulari, but he's not a full. I don't know that you can really label him entirely that way. It depends who you're talking to and what. I don't know. Everyone has their own opinion, and then. What bothers me too is, we have Wandell, right? And this is the big, let me get how do you feel about Wandell? Let's talk about that pick first. Because you were on with me. I obviously was not super excited. I have grown to actually not, I don't hate it. Again, is it the value that I had? No. But am I a professional scout? No.
You see, it's tough because I think that with what you have already in the receiver room, he's kind of a redundant piece. But at the same time, none of your receivers can actually ever stay healthy. So, I get it. Okay. I don't know what's going on with Tony, whether he's staying or going. But, to draft another, slot guy when your outside receiving core needs a hell of a lot more production than what you're getting from them was a little confusing to me. I don't hate the move because I think that, you need good players, and he was a good player and he's a fast player. I just think that with all the other slot options you already have, I think it would have been better served to maybe, draft an outside receiver more for your team.
Yeah. Okay. So let me pitch you my narrative that I've come up and I've convinced myself with. Right. So I think the plan is here. First of all, let's just make one thing clear. The Giants' healthiest wide receiver at this point today is Wandell Robinson. He has the least injury history of any of these guys. I think the plan is looking at Sterling Shepard, who, again, didn't have to. He chose to, which I don't know that he was getting a lot of interest coming off of an Achilles injury. He took a massive pay cut to stay with the Giants. He's a great locker room guy, one of my favorite Giants ever. I adore him. Unfortunately, he just doesn't. He's expected to do too much. I've always said this. He's not wide receiver 1. He's a wide receiver 2. If you try to give him wide receiver 1 work, he gets hurt. Happens every single time, almost every year. I think the idea is that you take Sterling out of the slot and you put Robinson there. I think that's the only thing that I can convince myself makes sense. I think you have Kadarius, more of that Z receiver, and then they have to be thinking that Kenny Golladay is going to be ready to come in and be their ex receiver.
So you start Golladay and Tony on the outside, and then Robinson in the slot.
Yeah, but that doesn't even sound great. Or do you put 4 receivers on? And do you have Tony and Robinson in the, I don't know what the plan is. But again, I don't believe that Shane or Dable drafted this kid. Like, you don't draft a Wan'Dale Robinson or a Treylon Burks. You don't draft guys like that unless you know what their role is going to be or you have a plan for them. That's not how it usually works, unless you're Dave Gettleman, who's like, let me draft Kadarius Toney, even though I literally don't even have, outside of Andrew Thomas, anyone on the O-line. But like, that's not the normal process of thinking. So I think the Giants are in a good spot. I think that, they're definitely going to get boned in this Bradbury situation, which again, like, we're going to still be dealing with the repercussions of Dave Gettleman probably up until like 2024. And you kind of have to just suck it up. Like, and everyone's like, well, why don't we come up with a deal? There is no coming up with a deal because he has to agree to it. And he's in a good spot, and we don't have money to pay even the rookies. So he's the only guy right now that you could just cut and make that space right there. It's $10 million right away. And it sucks because it's a fat hit, and he's going to get signed the very next day. But what do you do? That was a trash contract.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was, and that's a shame too, because like you said, you need the money for the rookies. But I think even as a Giants fan, that you guys realized that it was going to be a multi-year rebuild from the destruction of David Gettleman. But I think as far as from the Philly side, looking at the Giants, I think that was a great first step for them, first draft. I think that the fact that they hired that the GM and head coaching hires were both really good. And I think, it is time to get, guys that are healthy and that can contribute. It doesn't matter, how good the wide receiver core is if none of them are ever on the field. So in that respect, with Robinson, I think that it's a good move. So let me ask you this. Let me turn our attention to Turner Max real quick. Do you think that Saquon, A, is ready to play again, B, stays longer than next year, and C, do you wish they drafted a running back to back him up?
Well, they did very interestingly draft one towards the end there, didn't they? Yeah, I don't know who. It was very late enough where it's not necessarily worth mentioning. But I think even the tight end Bellinger we could have a whole conversation about that. But I think Saquon, here's the thing. People have to realize, like, the Giants were the worst offense in the entire league. Like, it's not even, like, I'm not even being theatrical, like, because I am a fan. Like, they were running QB sneaks on 3rd and 8. Like, this is not a joke. Like, they did not. Andrew Thomas scored more touchdowns than Kenny. I'm going to say it. Fucking Galladay. I said the F-bomb. I had to. I can't without. He scored more touchdowns than Kenny Galladay. Mm-hmm. He's an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Come on. Literally, come on. And it's crazy because you look at even Daniel Jones's rookie season. It's like 24 touchdowns, not even starting every game. He's almost scored. I think he's only had 21 since, and some of them, a lot of it has to come from his legs too, because he doesn't have options there and he's getting killed. So, and I think that the two players that really benefit before you start talking wide receiver that really truly benefit from this upgrade, having Evan Neal, and people forget we did add a lot of free agents that I think are able to put a stronger Band-Aid on whatever the Nate Solder, Will Hernandez, Cam Fleming nonsense was there. But I think that Saquon and Daniel Jones, I think you see both of, if they stay healthy, knock on wood, I think you see these guys end up, surpassing their ADP.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And I think, personally, I think it's interesting that, everyone is so ready to get rid of Daniel Jones. When you look back at it, he hasn't had any help at any level of the offense pretty much the entire time he's been the starting quarterback there. Whether it's, Saquon being gone for the year or every receiver in the entire locker room getting hurt or having a absolutely crap offensive line. Like, you give this guy a chance, like, give him like some weapons, give him some protection, and then see how he does. I think it's, I don't know how you feel about Daniel Jones, but I think personally that it's a shame that he's not really getting a fair shake in New York, and most people are ready for him to go.
Yeah. And I think you look at, and I don't have, the numbers in front of me, but before he got hurt, I mean, he was putting up some serious, like, top 10 QB type fantasy numbers because he does have that mobility. The problem is you have to keep him healthy long enough. You have to keep him upright long enough, and you got to give him options. And I think that that's part of the turnover. So do I think that Daniel Jones is going to be turned into some elite? No, like that. But let's be, just be logical about it. He's getting an upgrade across the board. And they even brought on another weapon. He hasn't had any consistency. I mean, how many games have Kenny Golladay and Daniel Jones even played together? Like probably 5. And even Kadarius Toney, probably 2. And then one of them, where we thought we saw Kadarius's breakout, he gets ejected for punching a cowboy in the face. Like that, there's the whole organization was very toxic for a little bit. So I'm excited to see what happens. I think this is the actual start of a rebuild. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they go. I think another team that's in a rebuild, and maybe we can end on them because I'm sure you're about ready to doze off here. I've got you for 30 minutes.
No.
Yeah, but let's talk about the Detroit Lions.
All right, let's do it.
And then we'll end on that.
Okay.
I want a Detroit Lions shirt. I need a Detroit Lions shirt. I've been to one Detroit Lions game, and they won. They beat the Vikings.
You're lucky.
And I think that Dan Campbell is who Joe Judge thought he was. I think that Dan Campbell, because I think that their teams were very similar that first year with the new coach. They bought in. They stayed in every game. They beat some very good teams. And I think the players bought in. But this is different because I don't think it was crap. I think that Dan Campbell has really built, and even from listening to him talk when we were down at the Senior Bowl, and even seeing how the Lions organization compared, to the Jets, how prepared they were to be coaching these teams. I think the Lions are in a really good place, and I think everyone should watch out for them because they stayed in games. And I think that all they did was have a phenomenal draft. They brought on another Jameson Williams I can't even imagine having him and St. Brown and Hawkinson and Swift. I mean, they're building something great there. Their O-line is good. They added enough pieces there for them to solidify. Like, they're starting to creep out of that rebuild part. Like, this is the year. If they can continue on what they did last year, I think we are going to be talking about the Lions. And I think they have another pick from the Rams, right, the following year. So even if they knock themselves out of the top 5, it doesn't matter because they can buy themselves right back in to get a quarterback. And again, as much as everyone hates him, Goff is a solid guy to have there as bridge gap. He's had success in the league, and you can't get too mad with him there.
No, absolutely not. And like what you said about the Lions, you didn't even mention, the picks they made on defense with, Josh Bosell and Kirby Joseph and Aiden Hutchinson. So, both sides of the ball, they really improved this past year. And it's kind of, as their wave is rising, it seems like the rest of the, as NFC North, it's kind of like in limbo. Like the Bears are kind of like, they didn't really help Justin Fields that much. The Packers, who knows how long Aaron Rodgers is going to remain there, and he doesn't really have a lot of veteran receiver help. And the Vikings are, okay, but they're the Vikings. So, the Lions could put it together. I think you're right. I think that, they have a really good, a really sneaky good offense that not a lot of people are talking about this year. I think that everyone just, it's easy to just crap on Jared Goff, but, he's a solid quarterback. So I think, and Dan Campbell is a really smart guy. And, he there's a reason that, he got a look at all these guys in the Senior Bowl when we were down there. And loved hearing them talk. So I just think that, I think you're right. I think that they're one of the teams that are going to surprise a lot of people this year.
Yeah. And it's not like, they're going to surprise. No, I think they will. I think they should have surprised people this past year. I mean, they stayed in every game, because they fought. And now I think, and we talked about this. I mean, this was months ago now. The Lions are not a bad football team. And that's the difference between them and what the New York Giants were going into the year before. They just need to add depth. They just need more good players. They're there. And I think they understood the assignment, like the youth say. And I think they're getting there. I think that the Lions are coming. And you knocked the Vikings, and I think the Vikings too. That's going to be interesting. I put money on the Vikings to win that division a while. I like that they're switching out. Zimmer, I think, was holding that team back a lot. I don't think they had a fantastic draft. I think that they did enough. Their secondary is basically their Achilles heel, but they just got to get Kirk to throw the ball to Jefferson down the field. That's it. It's literally not hard. Like, just throw the ball and you guys will win games. So I think that division is going to be fun to watch.
It will be, yeah. I think I just don't have much until I see it. I just don't have much faith in the Vikings. They're a solid team. They're not like crap, but I don't know. I just can't get on board with them making any kind of like real noise yet. Mm-hmm. And what I mean about Detroit's going to surprise people. It's not going to be like, oh, Detroit's going to win the Super Bowl surprise. It's they're going to be a solid team, and you're going to see that they have a bunch of young pieces that are growing together, and they're going to be good for the foreseeable future. That's what I meant.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the NFC also, like, people have to realize, like, it's not that difficult to get into the playoffs. Like, it's really not a big deal. Like, the Eagles got in at what, 9-8 and something last year?
9-8, yeah.
9-8. It's not hard. So the Vikings this year without Zimmer could easily go to. I mean, this is a cakewalk. It's not. I would hate to be, if the Giants were in the AFC, I would just pick a new team. Like, that would be it. Like, there is no hope. If you were a rebuilding team in the AFC, like, God bless you. Like, you need to sage, like, the whole stadium, because I don't know how to help you. But I think the NFC is a good place to be. And I think that some of these teams are definitely headed in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end it. Like you said, I hope everyone enjoyed all the draft coverage that we had here at Champions Round, enjoyed Big Board Showdown. We had a ton of fun bringing you all of our mock drafts, all of our Big Board Showdowns, all of our everythings. So, we're not stopping. There's plenty more football to talk about as we roll into, OTAs and training camps and such like that. So any last words, Steffi?
I don't think so. I'm going to start my, 32 team preview next week. We're going to start with the Lions, actually, ironically, if you haven't heard me talk about them enough. And then every day is draft day. We're just going to keep rocking with it. Download Discord. It's fun in there. Yes. Being able to, I feel like it's easier to interact there than it is on Twitter. The way they notify, it's awesome. And there's different channels. So it's like you go directly to what you want. So check out the Discord, and I'm excited to see. I'm ready for the season, though. I'm not going to lie to you.
Absolutely. So good luck on all your rookie drafts, your dynasty drafts, your redraft drafts. When you get to that point, definitely check out Steph's 32 team series, because she's putting in a lot of work on that. It's tough to come up with 32 teams and talk about every single one of them before the season. So she's doing a really great job on that. It'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait until we get to the NFC East. It'll be great. So on that, I'm Dan Turner, and she's Steffi Smalls, and we hope everyone has a great weekend. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their season.
And I'm going to Vegas tomorrow.
Don't do anything.
Cheers to that. See you guys. Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.